Imagine a moment that ignited the smoldering tensions of a divided nation, a single event that, more than any other, pushed the United States irrevocably closer to its bloodiest conflict. What could possibly provoke such a seismic shift, transforming political debate into an impending war? It was an audacious act of defiance, led by a man driven by an unyielding moral conviction against slavery. John Brown's raid at Harpers Ferry unfolded as a daring and ultimately doomed attempt by radical abolitionist John Brown and his small band of followers to seize the federal armory and arsenal at Harpers Ferry, Virginia, in October of 1859. The objective was to arm enslaved people for a widespread revolt across the South, thereby forcibly ending the institution of slavery. However, the raid failed to achieve its immediate goals and led to Brown's capture and execution. The core reason behind Brown's extreme measures stemmed from his deep religious faith and his belief that slavery was a moral abomination that could only be eradicated through direct, violent action. After witnessing and participating in the brutal guerrilla warfare of Bleeding Kansas, where pro- and anti-slavery forces clashed violently, Brown became convinced that peaceful abolitionist efforts were futile. He envisioned a dramatic strike that would inspire enslaved individuals to rise up, believing that the moral imperative of emancipation justified any means necessary, including insurrection. The raid itself began on the night of October 16, 1859, when John Brown, accompanied by 18 men, including 5 black individuals, stealthily advanced into Harpers Ferry. They quickly seized the federal armory, an arsenal, and a rifle works, cutting telegraph wires to isolate the town. Brown's men also captured several prominent local citizens to use as hostages, including a great-grandnephew of George Washington. However, the anticipated uprising of enslaved people did not materialize. News of the raid spread slowly, and many feared retaliation. The next day, local militia surrounded the armory, exchanging gunfire with Brown's forces. By October 18th, United States Marines, commanded by Colonel Robert E. Lee and Lieutenant J.E.B. Stewart, arrived from Washington, D.C. After a swift and violent assault on the engine house where Brown and his remaining men were barricaded, the Marines breached the doors, overwhelming the raiders, killing many, and capturing a wounded John Brown. This audacious act, though a military failure, was profoundly impactful, serving as a powerful catalyst for the impending Civil War. While widely condemned in the South as a terrorist act that confirmed their worst fears of abolitionist aggression, it also galvanized abolitionists in the North, who increasingly viewed Brown as a martyr for freedom. The raid effectively eliminated any remaining possibility of a peaceful resolution to the slavery crisis, pushing both sides to the brink of open conflict. It also revealed the deep ideological chasm that defined the era, where one man's act of terror was another's righteous crusade. Ultimately, John Brown's raid was not just an isolated incident of violence. It was a desperate, symbolic act that forced the nation to confront the irreconcilable differences over slavery. It stripped away any illusion of compromise, laying bare the moral and political chasm that divided North and South. In its wake, the path to secession and war became tragically clearer, making the raid a pivotal moment in American history that foreshadowed the monumental struggle for freedom and national unity.